News.
Let's cross to Edinburgh and speak to the Liberal Democrat Sir Menzies Campbell. Sir Menzies, if you can put your lawyer's hat on for us for a moment, is what Spain is suggesting legal under EU law?
Well, what they've tried to argue is that because Britain's not a part of Schengen and Gibraltar therefore is not a part of Schengen, then they're entitled to take steps of the kind that they're being threatened with. But if you look at the whole notion of the European Union, and the fact that all the states within the European Union operate a single market, then it may not be strictly illegal, but it certainly doesn't help the kind of integration, both economically and politically, which lies at the heart of the EU.
And are they right in saying that the reef that kicked all this off is also illegal?
I don't believe so. But of course, this reef may just have been the opportunity the Spanish government was looking for in order to try and divert attention for its very obvious economic difficulties at home by focusing on Gibraltar. It's a well-known principle, if you like, of government, that if there's trouble at home, then you can, to use the word the Chief Minister used, indulge in some sabre rattling abroad. But it's a gross miscalculation to believe that either the people of Gibraltar or indeed the British government is likely to succumb to pressure of the kind that's being proposed. If anything, it will simply stiffen resolve both in Whitehall and Gibraltar.
Do you think Fabian Picardo's right when he says this is silly season stuff?
Well, it's difficult to make a judgment about that for the moment. I don't think it's North Korean, if I may make that point, but I certainly think that it's a miscalculation. And of course, it's such a gross miscalculation, you're bound to ask yourself, well, is this deliberately over the top in the sure and certain knowledge that there will be a very firm response, rather, as we've heard from the Prime Minister, of serious concern? That would simply help, I think, well, on one view, with domestic opinion in Gibraltar, to the effect that the British are as intransigent as ever. But look, this is a responsibility which was created by treaty. It's a responsibility which the United Kingdom has fulfilled properly and legally ever since that treaty, and there's absolutely no reason why it should be changed, so long as the people of Gibraltar, as they do, wish virtually 100% of them to remain part of the British protectorate.
This coming on the day when we've heard of the death of Sir Sandy Woodward, Admiral Woodward, I guess you're right, would stiffen resolve, if anything, in terms of protecting overseas territory. But do you think David Cameron would be minded at all to open negotiations with the Spanish on any part of what is a very ancient treaty?
Not under threat. And I happen to know that during the time of the Labour government, there were discussions with the Spanish government about whether there could be a fresh agreement about status. But these were rather knocked on the head when the then First Minister of Gibraltar called his own referendum, which resulted in something like 98.5% of those who voted saying they didn't want any change in status of any kind whatsoever. But if the thought in Madrid is that by threatening Britain and by causing considerable inconvenience to people in Gibraltar, attitudes in this country, or indeed on the rock itself, are going to change, then frankly, that is simply not going to happen.
And do you think this changes attitudes in the bigger picture in terms of Britain's feelings towards Spain in sort of economic crisis terms? I mean, do we treat this differently?
No, because the future of the euro is absolutely fundamental to the future and stability and recovery of our own economy. That's well accepted on all sides of the House of Commons. So I don't think we will go to the next meeting which there's discussions
bearing grudges.
Bearing grudges. It would be, well, we'd be shooting ourselves in the foot to do so. But that doesn't mean to say that we should adopt anything other than the robust response which we've heard from the Prime Minister already today.
Sir Menzies, thank you.
Pleasure.
Well, let's get more on this story.